Okay. Bit deeper and you know, explain to me the narcissist and why is that everybody is a narcissist these days?
I think so. I pulled up the requirements. Let me get them. And I think that when people hear the requirements and they feel like, oh, I know someone who that pertains to, I know someone who that is. So according to the DSM, right, one of the criteria is you have to have 5 of the following 9. So when I read these 9, you'll hear how common some of the things are.
Okay.
And some people, when I say it, you may be like, oh, that was so and so. That's so and so. That's so and so. And you'll understand how it's so easy to be overused.
Okay.
So a narcissist has a grandiose sense of self-importance. That means they think highly of themselves than they really are.
Okay, so let's stop right there.
A lot of people on social media.
We're gonna look at these. We got time. Okay, grandiose. I think highly of myself.
Yeah.
So when I hear something like that, I think that so it's the opposite. And I know where you're gonna go. I know what you're gonna say, but just for the sake of conversation.
Yeah.
So in order to be not to be a narcissist, I should think lowly of myself.
Not necessarily lowly. So like, a narcissist would think that they may think grandiose of themselves in a way that's not necessarily true.
Okay.
You know,
that makes a difference.
Yeah. They may feel like, just say if we're both salesmen, right? I may feel like I am the best. I can only be the best. No one can be better than me. Like if you want the best, you gotta hire me. And to some extent, you gotta think like that in some ways. So that's what I'm saying. It's really hard when people start to overuse these words based off of one criteria.
You know, I started laughing because, you know, I came from a retail background, retail manager. Only had one job my whole life. Only filled out one application my whole life, and it was in sales. And I promise you, man, those were the people that I was looking for. Those ones who had that type of cockiness. You know what I'm saying? Because I had it myself. I felt like I was, when it came to sales, it was like no one can touch me. You know, so
you have to think that way, especially as entrepreneurs, or you know, to get through some hard jobs, to make money and commission based. You got to think that way. That's why you can't diagnose somebody off of one thing.
That's right. So number 2. What's number 2?
Number 2 is a pre.
You know, do the overuse of the words like you know, toxic relationship, trauma bond, all these the master word narcissist. do that hinder the professionals? Because you know everybody. I mean, really and truly, you know, today everybody's a narcissist.
Yep.
You know, if you let social media tell you so.
Yes. So I think it does hinder. And the other word I was thinking of was a while back, girls. Mainly I saw girls. I don't know if it was girls and guys. They thought it was cute to be labeled as, or that other people labeled them as bipolar. That was the word that was, you know, floating around. I got mood swings on bipolar. And so yes, it does hinder people, because when people, another way it hinders treatment sometimes is people will come in and they will say, hey, I feel like I'm a narcissist.
Okay.
And so the way a diagnosis works is there is this huge book that we have, right? It's like our little Bible, for lack of a better word. It's the DSM. In order to get a diagnosis, you have to meet like 5 or 6, just say for narcissists, I think it's 5 out of 9 criteria.
Okay.
So people will just look up, am I a narcissist, or is my mom a narcissist, or something like that, and they may see the criteria, right? They may see 2 things or 3 things, and then all of a sudden their mom is a narcissist, or they're a narcissist. And so if you yourself are struggling with, I feel like something is wrong with me, but I don't know what, or I'm having a hard time in my relationships or my friendships, and you Google this, or someone blurts out you're a narcissist, that's a heavy burden on you. Because now, as your therapist, I have to be, it's like court. Because now I got to prove to you that you're not this.
Right.
That power of two is such a strong thing because you got to think about it's the power of that husband and that wife when they team up properly. And even with that, that husband and that wife team up separately with God. Oh, Jesus.
Come on.
And when they do that, oh my goodness, there is no way to fail. Things can get hard, but they can't fail.
They can't fail.
They cannot fail.
Listen, people. All right, now I'm gonna leave that alone because.
So here we go. I'm gonna go ahead into my Proverbs 31 wife. Okay.
That is all right.
So when I think about that, at the beginning of that whole Proverbs 31, it was the lessons to a king on how to be a king. Then it goes into what to look for a wife.
My Lord.
So, you have people when they think about relationships, a lot of females look for that man that's going to take care of them. But a Proverbs 31 wife, that baby, she stands on her own. She stands on her own. This, if you read into it, she's creating, she's enlarging. She's there for her husband, but on her own. He's running the kingdom. She's managing the home. She's managing, but she's enlarging it because she's taking care of her handmaids. She's raising the kids. She's creating material to make her own clothes. Her hand is at the plow. It ain't idle.
My Lord. Wait a minute. Man, well, see, first of all, you didn't just jumped into this thing and I wasn't ready because I'm sitting up here. You didn't just blew. Man, I'm about to shout already because I knew I should. Yeah.
It is very unlikely that a man is going to come home and say, "Let me give you the keys to the kingdom, baby."
Well, see, I didn't say that he came home and educated, but
that's what he would have to do. That's what he would have to do in order for her opinion to be applicable and be something that he can actually go back to the office or go back and say, "Okay, this is what you need to do." It would have to.
Well, no, it don't have to be because he could see. You're thinking along the lines that she had no value, and no. I'm thinking along. Well, okay, I'll just say this: the average man, and I'm not going all the way back to Frederick Douglass. I'm just saying the average married man is going to have going to think that his wife has some value. And he's going to confide in her, and he's going to want her opinion.
Okay, well, let's ask our viewers. You guys, do you think that that's true? Do you think it's true that the average man or husband is coming home? And what did you say? Coming home and asking their opinion.
Yeah. See, and here's the thing. If you're viewing and you're not married, and then you're not qualified to answer the question.
What do you mean not married?
If you
wait, don't put stipulations because then these people some of them have been married, some of them have.
Well, if you have been married, you can answer the question. If you're currently married, you can answer the question. But the point is, if you ain't never been with a man, then like that, then you really don't know that he would come and do that.
Ladies and gentlemen, may I have your attention, please? The show starts in 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go.
I've got an idea.
week for this. It's showtime, baby. Man, what is up? What is up? What is up? How you doing? How you feeling?
I feel fantastic. How are you?
Man, I'm doing great. Listen, man, last week was just an amazing week. Man, I told you that I was gonna be a student, and I'm still all week. I've been replaying these videos, and I've been taking notes, and I've been learning. I know this week today, man, it's Sunday. It's 7 o'clock. So that means welcome to the Power Podcast. And listen, I got a powerful guest. Last week she made her debut, and she was so doggone good that we had to have her back. And I'm so pleased to have my special guest on here to help me do something good, to help me do something special, to help me do something right. Miss KD Reed, thank you for joining. Listen, man, how was it for you?
Oh, it was fantastic. Anytime I can empower people, I'm on cloud nine. I'm on cloud
Amen.
nine.
Amen. You did some yeah, I mean it was just great. I don't even know what word great, awesome, amazing. What it's some along that line, or maybe it was all of that put together, because I don't even know what word to what category to put it in. But I know that from the information, the feedback that I've been getting, it's not just me, girl. It's not just me. You got a message, that message of bridging the gap between the mental health community and the spiritual community. And I may be saying it wrong, but I know you bridging that gap. And when I tell you that it's so needed, because that they're not in opposition with each other. They
Mm-mm.
they uh, they they go hand in hand.
Hand in
And
hand.
the more I thought about it, the more I realized that when you start looking at, even if you just look at faith, that's gonna take a mental conditioning. And if you're not mentally prepared, or you're not mentally conditioned, then you can even falter in just having faith.
Yeah.
So it's so many different ways. Even when you're with your healing, I believe that you know you can just say I'll be healed, but then you gotta believe you'll be healed. And if you don't have the right mindset to even believe you can be healed, that may hinder your healing.
Yeah.
So so we're talking about how to heal and move on. This is part two, everybody. So the comments, let me see, they are officially on. I see you, Miss Kelly. I see you, Miss Newton. Thanks for joining. Let me see. She said I'm so excited to see Miss KD back, and that is what people has been saying. Miss Donna says the same. She said good evening, and I'm glad you guys are here. I'll make sure. Listen, I'm gonna pick on y'all too. I know some other people I'm not seeing on here, but y'all make sure that y'all share this out, and it'll be a blessing to us all. Okay, so hey, this is what I want to do, because I want to jump into this thing. So first, I want you to reintroduce yourself, because it's going to be even more people watching now. And then once you get introduce yourself or reintroduce yourself, I want to do a recap, of what we talked about last week. Okay, just to let people know. Okay, hey, we talked about these things, and then we're gonna go into today's show. Is that good?
That's good with me.
All right. So, guys, hey, welcome to the show, Miss Katie Reed. Please introduce yourself.
Hi, guys. It is such an honor and a pleasure to be back with you guys. My name is KD Reed, and I'm a therapist. I've been a therapist for close to 15 years. I am the founder of the new business, Mirror Moments Mental Health, where I seek to bridge the gap between the faith based community and the mental health community. So last week we talked about what was a narcissist, why is it so popular to be a narcissist, And one of the main things that I want to review is we talked about you cannot or you should not attach the label narcissist to someone unless they meet the requirements. And so at baseline, what we talked about is you have to have 5 of the following 9 criteria. Not 1, not 2, but you have to have 5. And so the criteria were a grandiose sense of self importance, a preoccupation with fantasies of unlimited success, a belief that he or she is special and unique and can only be understood by or associate with people who are also of high status and unique, a need for excessive admiration, a sense of entitlement, interpersonally explosive behavior, a lack of empathy, an envy of others or a belief that others are jealous of them, and then a demonstration of arrogant and haughty behaviors or attitudes. And so I'm super excited today to be talking about how to heal from just anyone, not necessarily just a narcissist, but just healing in general and moving on because we definitely want to be solution focused.
Absolutely. See, last week, even just listening to, some of the feedback, some of the conversations I had after the show, I realized that we did open some wounds. We, just in conversation, and but tonight we're gonna close them. Tonight we're gonna give some solutions and we're gonna heal. I want this thing to be so impactful. I want lives to change. This is really the piggyback of the Freedom February. Now I know we ain't in February anymore, but the spirit of it is still here, and um so let's just do it. Okay, so when I look at freedom, when I look at moving on,
Hmm.
there's two ways that I look at moving on, because in one sense you can be moving on can mean, okay, this relationship is over, okay, it's time for me to move on, okay. So I want you to attack it that way, but then the other way I want you to approach it is, I'm in the same relationship, I'm in a marriage, and I want my marriage to work, but we have these problems that we need to heal from so we can move on in our marriage. So I don't want to leave, but I need a solution. I need help. Can you help us?
Absolutely.
Should I get my pen and
Absolutely.
pen out?
Absolutely.
All right, I'm ready. I am ready.
So the framework that I use for healing, well, first let me say this. Healing is possible, but healing is not linear. And what that
Mm,
means is there's not like here are these 10 steps, do this and you'll be healed. Healing is like up and down, going back, going forward. Like it's a journey, it's an everyday journey, right? So I've
wow.
been playing around with this framework of these 3 A's. And I'm trying some different ones, but the base of it is to assess, to acknowledge, and to adjust. That's it based on personal and professional experience. That's what I found is like the baseline of the framework to healing. So assessing, acknowledging, and adjusting. So if I had to start at the beginning, it would be assessing, right? So when you
Mhm.
assess something, you have to look around. You got to see if there's a problem. Or so like if I hear water in my bathroom, right? I have to go in there and see where it's coming from. I have to see that there is a problem. I hear the water. So in a relationship, you have to assess what is the issue? What is the problem? And then you have to acknowledge that there is a problem. That's where a lot of people are going to stop the journey right there. You have to acknowledge that there is a problem because if you don't acknowledge there's a problem, there is nothing to heal from. I
Absolutely.
cannot want healing for you more than you want it for yourself. It's
Mm,
not going to work. People call all the time and say, "Hey, I need to sign so and so up for counseling," right? And my first question is, do they want to go to counseling? Do they feel like it's a problem? You can't just bring your husband to counseling if he doesn't think there's anything wrong with the marriage.
right.
It's not going to
Right.
work. So
Hmm.
we have to assess that there's a problem. We have to acknowledge that there's a problem. Now, there's another acknowledge. This is also where we lose people. You have to acknowledge that you may be playing a role in it.
Mm,
You have to acknowledge that you may be playing a role in it. And then you have to adjust. Once you're going through the healing process, you have to adjust. What does adjustment look like? Sometimes adjusting is adjusting the words you say to your partner, adjusting the words you say to yourself, adjusting the way you think about certain things, adjusting the way you take in certain information. And so that's just the basis of healing: assessing, acknowledging, and adjusting.
Man, I love it. I love it. Hey, thanks, Tiffany, because I can't type like that. Hey, so and I needed those assess, acknowledge, and adjust.
Mhm.
Now, you talked about that acknowledgement part being one of the hardest part, and I would say even on both sides in the relationship,
Yes.
because one, if I'm the problem, I'm going to have a problem acknowledging it, and if
Mhm.
I am the receiver of the problem, I'm going to have a problem, accepting the
Yeah.
fact that I do have a problem
Yeah.
in my relationship, because
Yeah.
in actuality, no one really, I mean, I really don't care if you are, newly married and saying, man, how can I be newly married and have a problem? Or you
Mhm.
just say you've been married 10, 15, 20 years down the line. You say, oh man, I've been married 20 years. We should have this thing, down
Yes.
packed by now,
Yep.
so acknowledging it is going to be hard on either sides of it. But I love those three A's. So when we talk about assessing, I'll just kind of hit that again, because I want to make sure that we got the assessing part.
So when we're assessing, it's like something's not right. So you're trying to
Mhm.
assess what the issue is. The issue may be I don't trust her, or the issue um may be, I got some childhood trauma I'm carrying around. You're really just assessing like what's going on.
So now I believe that that's going to be a tough one. Okay,
Yeah.
and you help me with this, because um, one, you're going to have a good sense of awareness of who you are,
Yeah.
and then that assessing is going to almost be a part. I know it's connected to acknowledgement as well,
Hmm.
because once again, I have to look at myself, and I have to say, you know what, I got a problem.
Yeah.
And me being a relationship coach, I realized that if we can get people to do that perspective look, then we really have most of this thing beat already. But most people feels as if they got it right.
Yeah.
It's not me. So
Yeah.
how are we gonna approach that when
And
when
I,
you
I
know?
go I go back and forth between changing acknowledge first, like acknowledging there is a problem, and then assessing what the problem is. Like I go back and forth between how it should be. Because you're right. Saying assessment first requires people to be very self-reflective.
Hmm.
And it's easier for me, even biblically, there's a scripture, it's easier for me to point out your flaws than mine.
Absolutely.
It's easier for me to do
I
that.
got your flaws down pat.
Yes. Yes, yes. And so I go back and forth between that. And so when I switch it around and put acknowledge first, the assessment comes where you bring in a professional, the relationship coach, the therapist,
Gotcha.
someone who is, like I tell my clients, I want whatever you want, right?
Right.
So when I'm assessing, I don't have a dog in the fight. It doesn't matter to me one way or the other. I don't
Okay.
want y'all to get divorced if you want to stay together. I don't want y'all to stay together if you want to be divorced. I'm here to assess what the issue is and to help you see what it is and
Absolutely.
to help you get to whatever your goal is.
That's good. That's good. So
Yeah.
that assessment is really, it's going. It can happen to yourself, but chances
Mhm.
are you're going to get to a place where you're gonna hit a brick wall,
Yeah.
and that assessment is going to come at that point, but is also going to become, chances are, from someone on the outside. Am I
Yeah,
right
and
so
I
far?
think you can go through two things of assessment. Now sitting here thinking about it, you can come to someone and say, "Hey, I always have an issue with my relationships."
Hmm.
You assessing there's always a problem. You're
Right.
acknowledging that there is a problem and you may be a part of it. it may take the professional for you to see, why are you always having this problem? Why are you attracting this kind of person? Like, why why are you always in this place?
Right. Right.
Mhm.
Because so because at that point, you're actually acknowledging that there is something wrong.
Yeah,
So assessing and acknowledging is really, like the Batman and Robin. I don't know.
yeah.
I can't think of nothing else. Hey, I'm a
'Cause
superhero guy.
if it was a diagram, it probably would be a circle. You know how you have the words and then the arrows go around, because healing is not linear. It would be
Right.
a circle. You know,
And,
it's a constant thing.
and to where you really don't know where the beginning is or where
Yeah,
the end or where the,
yeah,
because and it's funny that you use that, because when I look at things of God, I always look at, if man did it, it is linear. Okay, but if
yeah.
God did it, it is, it's circular, meaning that there is no beginning, there is no end. You cannot
Hmm.
pinpoint it, because that's just how God created it,
Yeah,
and man can create something, but it can be this high, but it will have a ending point. But with
right,
God, there is no ending.
right, right. I like that. That's good.
There is no ending. So
That's
that
good.
so I had to do it like that, because I can really see, when you did that circle, I'm like, yeah, I can get with that. And that is a good diagram for healing, because now at this point, we're when we get to the point where we are acknowledging, and I tell you, man, that is the toughest part. Well, let's do this. Um you got a husband and a wife. Okay, they come, they let's say he's not it's not that wife that just booked the appointment for a husband and he don't want to come, because I already know that if the man or the woman, whoever's not in 100% agreement with counseling, that is going to be, just a total waste of time. Okay,
Yeah.
because you have to at least acknowledge the point that you need help. But let's say that they're sitting down with you, whether it's physically, virtually.
Hmm.
How are you? What are your steps? Okay, to start healing them. So now this couple is saying, listen, I want to be married. Okay, I
Okay.
want to be married to him, I want to be married to her, I love him, I love her. So how do you start that healing process?
So two things that are very important to me when I'm working with couples. One, I ask them, what is the biggest barrier? Like, what are, in their viewpoint, what is the biggest barrier? And they have to use I statements. You can't say, well, he does this. You can say, now I feel this way when he does this. So once we identify what they each see as the biggest barrier, if they're going to stay together, I have to end that session with them looking at each other and saying what brought them together. Because
Mm,
sometimes in the midst of healing, you lose sight of that.
right,
You lose sight of what attracted you to this person. And sometimes you need something to hold on to, because healing gets rough.
right.
Healing
So
gets rough. So you need something to hold on to.
how when we're looking at that married couple,
Hmm.
uh how do you look at the struggle that they can have? I mean, what if they come in, that same couple come in and they say, hey, we are struggling in our relationship. It doesn't matter what the struggle is for this conversation here. Let's just say they are struggling, whatever it
Okay.
is. Or we could say they're struggling with finances, but it don't matter because it's the struggle. Okay. How do you start assessing something specifically like that, so they can heal and move on?
So outside of asking like what the biggest issue is, sometimes I like to ask them, when did this start?
Okay.
When did this start for you? Because what I found is, like, for sometimes there's an incongruence. Like, she may say this started 3 years ago. He may say this started 6 years ago.
Mhm.
And we really got to see, when did it start for each of them? He may say this started after our first child was born. She may say this started, 6 months ago when he got a new job. Like we really have to see when did it start for them, because then maybe they will see that at some point they stop being on the same page.
Man, that's so good. That's good because one of the things that I do in my coaching, I really teach on being on the same page. I realize that a lot of relationships, marriages go bad just simply because they lost track of the what was the actual journey.
Yep.
At some point they
Yeah.
ended up on two different paths. And
Yes.
so, my approach is, look, you're gonna have to sit down at the table,
Yeah.
and you're gonna have to come up with that one common goal. That one that
Yep.
what is that? What is the dream? What is like the dream of the family?
Yes.
And once you come up with that one common thing, listen, man, everybody can connect to that. Okay,
Yes.
that is your motivation because we sat down, and that common goal could be, okay, we're gonna, in 12 months, we're gonna be saving $10,000.
Hmm.
Okay. Well, so everything that we're doing is to reach that common goal.
Yeah.
So let's say that now you got the husband that say, look, I want to buy this 85-inch TV. Okay, and it costs them $6,000. Well, okay, we don't have to really argue about that. Why? Because we can assess that that was not part of the original goal, because we agreed together already that their goal was to save 10,000. You buying this TV is gonna it's taking us away from what we have already decided to do
Right.
together.
Yep.
Okay. So when you say that, I totally get it, because if you start asking these questions, you're going to realize at some point they really started living separate lives.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Sometimes they come in and they want to talk about things, and I tell them that's not the underlying issue. Like, go deeper, go deeper.
It's got to go deep.
Because even in that situation, if you already established that this is the goal was to save money and y'all agreed on it together, but one party wants to buy the TV and they're really persistent, at that point, it's not about the money.
Right.
It's about you're not committed to the family. You're not committed to the goal. And then you have to explore that.
And you can actually, if you go deep enough, that purchase of the TV may represent, maybe a failure that he had, and
Yeah.
maybe he's trying to overcompensate for the fact that there's a place in his life, at this place in his life he's not feeling fulfilled.
Yep.
And so this was a way that he want to overcompensate. I'm going to go in and I'm going to highlight some people. Miss Tamika, good evening to you. Tiffany, good evening to you. Miss Battle, all the way from Cali. Thank you for joining. Good evening to you. This is my queen mother. I salute you. Good evening to you, Mom. And then Miss my neighbor, Miss Mary Cunningham, Sister Mary, as I call her. Good evening to you as well. All right, so man, listen, we this is part two of how to heal and move on. This is my very special guest, Miss KD Reed, and so far, for those who are just joining, we have been talking about, well, we recapped a little earlier about um, what we talked about last week, and we talked about, I mean, it was a firecracker show. We talked about the toxic relationships, we talked about the trauma bonds, and then we talked about the granddaddy of them all, Mr. and Mrs. Narcissist. And what you said, there were nine
Yeah, according to the
criteria.
DSM, there's 9 identified traits.
Mm.
You got to meet 5 out of 9.
5 out of 9, and so we just kind of put it in. We just said, you know what, a lot of these folks that are narcissists, they could be, but then at the same time they may not be, based off the fact that we don't know if you actually are assessing. Yeah. Hey, you know what? Real quick, before we go on our station break, somebody put up a post about somebody being a narcissist. So of course I had to play with them. I said, how do you know that? And then, oh, you can tell, blah blah. I said, now did he say it publicly? And then I said something like, it seemed like that'd be a violation of the HIPAA law. Because I'm like, you're going to, are you the medical professional? Did you assess this?
Right.
And if you are, then aren't you violating some type of law? So I mean, I don't really think I don't think it's appropriate, but at the same time, people are doing it, but we do need to change. Okay. But I had to share that with you. Let's see what Miss Battle says. She said, I have a good one. What if a couple is blending their families? One parent have visit, and the other has custody. How do you handle the overcompensation they do with visiting kids when you share kids together? Okay. Let's see. What if a couple is it's a blended family? One parent has visitation and the other has custody. How do you handle the overcompensation they do with the visiting kids? Okay, so this is what I believe. I believe that she said, I'm asking for a friend. All right, friend. Okay, so here's the deal. So are we talking about the when the child is visiting? Okay, you're overcompensating because this is, hey, I only get them every other weekend or whatever the case may be. So I have to overcompensate. I am not even going to attach that one because I deal with the grown folks. I'm gonna let you deal with this one.
So I believe that 99% of things in this world can be solved with a conversation. I don't believe that 99% of conversations are easy though. So this boils down to a conversation. Absolutely. Why are you overcompensating? What is the reason behind it? Because is it because you want to be seen as the fun parent? Is it because you want them not to like being with me? I believe that there has to be a conversation with both parents. And sometimes the couples counseling that needs to take place is couples who are co-parenting.
Absolutely. And I'll say this too. I can see, especially from a man's point of view, if it is a he, which we don't know, but I'm just saying, if it is a he could be overcompensating because of guilt, and especially if he was the one that caused the breakdown of the relationship, or maybe, it really don't have to be a he, it could be a she, but whoever the person, whoever caused the breakdown of the union could be feeling some guilt, so it's definitely an underlying issue that really have to be dealt with, because you could just, like I really did, I looked at it and said, okay, well, that's a child's problem. That's something, that's a parenting problem, but it's not really a parenting problem. It's an adult problem, and it's, there's something there, that really have to be dealt with. Letitia, I hope that helped you out. And then if anybody have any questions, please, put them in the chat. We're going to take a quick break, and we're going to be back with more of Miss KD.
Hi, my name is Eric Kirk. I'm the author of The Power 2, The Power 2 Workbook, and The Power 2 Planner. This is not just a planner, it's a journal and a devotional all in one The Power 2 Planner is designed to keep you in touch with one another, also to maintain order and stay on task with the vision and the plan that was set for the family. So grab your Power 2 Planner, your Power 2 Workbook, and your partner weekly and refresh and update one another on any plan changes. Whether you're a newly wedded or a seasonally married couple, the Power 2 Planner is an essential tool to help you create oneness, balance, focus, and activate the Power 2 in your relationship. Hi, my name is Eric Kirk.
That's the Power 2, guys. Listen, we are back and we are at part 2 of how to heal and move on with Miss Katie Reed. I want to once again thank you guys for joining. If you haven't done so already, it's not too late. You can share. Man, make sure you do this. Make sure that you like, share, and we would love to have your comments as well. If you have any questions for our guests, please do so. And man, it'll be a blessing. So, Miss KD, man, let's go. Thank you, Tamika said it is done. I love that. I love it. I love it. We we want to get healed. Okay, we're tired of hurting.
Yeah.
You know, I believe that God created this thing. Okay, He did it for a reason. I just believe that. Listen, y'all be mad at me. Y'all can send me whatever you want to send me, but I am concreted in my belief. Okay, I believe that God created this thing called marriage. I believe that He did it for a reason. I believe that He did this thing so we can have strong families and strong families create strong neighborhoods, communities, and communities, city, and on and on and on. Okay. I believe that His work is done through these strong families. Okay. And I also believe that that we misunderstand the struggle. I believe that relationships are, I believe that it's part of the program. Okay. And I believe that we're missing some points. Okay. Because I read over there when God performed, the wedding, He said, leave, cleave, and become one. And I studied that thing, KD, and I said, you know what? I understand what leaving the home mean. I understand, somewhat what becoming one mean, but I didn't understand what cleaving meant. And then I studied that word cleave, and I realized that it's a place where it's a place where they really got the word cleaver, and the cleaver is what we call a butcher's knife. And then that, and so with the translation of that word, what we really is finding out that the cleaving is where God really takes out that butcher's knife and He start cutting away at our flesh. I believe that because there's no way that we can actually really come together if He don't fix some things about us. And so what God does, He says, look, Eric, there's some things about you that if you're going to be the best man you can be, if you're going to live out the purpose that I designed for you in the confounds of this marriage, there's some things that I'm gonna have to do. So God takes out His cleaver and He starts saying, I'm gonna cut away on your flesh. And that's where the problem comes in at. Because God started working on me, and then I feel the pain, and I don't see God, but I see my wife over there, and I don't know why I feel this way, and I start pointing the finger at her, and all along this is God saying, listen, and mind you, let me just add this in. This is where divorce happened. When God started perfecting you and we miss it, and then all of a sudden now you say, okay, well, I don't like this feeling, but it got to be something wrong. And so now it's time for me, I gotta leave. Okay. This is a process that's been going over it and over and over again. Now, I will say, I know some pain ain't the right pain. You know what I'm saying? Ain't nobody need to be hitting on you and all that type of stuff. They ain't
Right.
talking about that type pain. I'm talking about that pain where God said, hey, you're gonna have to watch your words. You know what I'm saying? That, you're gonna have to check that attitude. If you're gonna
Yeah.
go where I'm trying to take you, you're gonna have to, you're gonna have to
Yeah.
learn how to serve your mate. See, those things is where God's saying, listen, your flesh is gonna reject all of that, but I'm trying to take you to a place, so I'm gonna have to do a work on you. Okay,
Yeah.
so my thing is, I wanted to set that up like that because I want you to understand how I look at the struggle part. But I believe that once we can at least understand that spiritual connection, then we can better, better assess, what's actually happening. At the very least, we can say, you know what, my problem is not with my spouse, and I have
Right.
to look I have to look other places, opposed to blaming my spouse.
Yep.
So what's your thoughts on that? I want to bring these A's back up. Let me find it. And guys, once again, we're talking about how to heal and move on. And KD, you brought up your 3 A's: assess, acknowledge, and adjust. That is, how did you describe it? The 3 steps to start the
Yeah.
healing process.
Right.
Go ahead.
Right.
Okay.
And so, in addition to that, I like what you just said about the cleaver and about it being painful, right? The change and God having to cut things away from us. Because when I talk about healing, not only do I share the 3 A's, I also have 8 truths that I've come up with about healing.
Mm, that's good. Okay.
And the first one is healing is ghetto.
Healing is
Healing
ghetto.
hurt.
I'm like, somebody,
Healing is
please,
not.
somebody be writing that in the chat. Okay.
I remember being younger and seeing this commercial for a girl starting her period, and she was like frolicking through the little field and everything. But then when it happened to me, I was like, this is not that. Like this is not that. So healing is also a buzzword right now, and I love that. But
Mm,
healing is hard. Healing is you crying. Healing is you being a blubbering mess. Healing is not knowing where to direct the pain you feel. Healing is some of the truths I put is healing is scary. Like,
right.
yes, I need to heal, but that don't mean I always want to heal. It doesn't mean that it's comfortable. Healing is very uncomfortable.
Yeah, man, I gotta say this because I see some people. Um, they went through a bad breakup or whatever, and then they run to social media and they
Mm,
start saying, I'm in my healing process, and I'm living the best days of my life. And I'm thinking, how you just
yeah.
lost your husband and you living the best days of your life? What that don't
I
sound
think
right
it
to me.
depends on the situation. Now, I would think that would be okay if maybe they were in an abusive relationship or a relationship where they weren't valued or a relationship where they weren't able to be them full selves,
Right,
maybe.
right. Now, I mean, and I, because I would say this: even if that's true, even if that's true, there should be a a a a hurt from just the disconnection of something that you said was going to be your forever ever. You know what I'm
But
saying?
you gotta remember, sometimes by the time people sever the ties, they've been separated, like mentally. Sometimes they've been roommates for a while. Sometimes they've been um maybe not even speaking. And
So
sometimes
yeah,
that last release is just a formality.
absolutely. You're that
Yeah.
exactly right. Because that once again, that process, it could have been years down,
Yes.
started years ago, and we're just seeing it
Right.
now. Yeah, now that's
Right.
good. That's good. Oh, Tiffany says healing. She's making the notes. Thank you, Tiffany. Healing is ghetto. Healing is scary,
Mhm.
and that is exactly right. So, and then Miss Lucretia says there's a disconnect before they
Yep.
disconnect. That I was in a session a couple of days ago, and that was one of the things that I was expressing to the husband was that your wife cup was empty a long time ago.
Mm.
And there's two things that happens when your love cup is disconnected.
Yeah.
You're gonna feel resentment, and you're gonna
Yes.
feel a disconnect.
Yes.
And the resentment comes in the fact that you supposed to be filling my cup. I wasn't even
Right.
supposed to get here, and
Right.
how could you have, I have given to you over and over again, and all I needed was for you to give back to me, and
Yep.
you couldn't do that.
Yeah.
And resentment comes in,
Yeah.
and then the disconnect because the person that was supposed to be filling your cup was not there for you.
Yep.
And that's where and and he's feeling or experiencing the anger, and I'm like, yeah, that's about right. That's
Yep.
gonna happen.
Yep. Yes.
Just a little side note. Why do you think guys are always the last to know when it comes to things like this?
So I think that a lot of times we don't know our partner's love language. And so
Hmm.
sometimes we feel like we're loving them, but you're
Yeah,
loving them in the language they don't speak. And you have
absolutely,
to know your partner's love language. And sometimes people think that's cliche, but it's real. If you're buying me gifts and that's not my love language, that doesn't mean anything to me. If I
absolutely,
am running errands with you or checking your oil or things like that, and that's not my love language, that doesn't mean anything to me. So you're trying really hard. I'm not reciprocating because I don't hear the language you're speaking. Well, then I'm not going to try anymore. I'm going to get very frustrated. Why is she
absolutely.
not? Why is she not? Why is she ungrateful? She's not ungrateful. She just doesn't know that's how you love her because that's not how she hears it.
That's exactly right. Tamika said most important thing. Tiffany says facts. For you guys that's in the comments, you know, just put a heart emoji if you understand the love language. If you understand it, put a thumbs down if you never heard of the love language. I just want to kind of get an idea because uh, there's a few books that was very pivotal for me, in this shift. Okay, and hard for Tamika, hard from Letitia. I don't know why I keep wanting to say that. I'm sorry, but yeah, okay. So there's fruit books, and studying the love languages was probably one of the most important things that I have learned when it comes to relationships because you can, and I'm glad you brought that up because I'm in a group of about 3,000 men,
Mm.
and it's almost like clockwork because whenever they join the group and they introduce themselves, they always say, I had no idea, this came out of nowhere. And I'm like, man, if you could just look back and see how everybody came in saying the same thing.
Yeah.
And it's only because, in my opinion, because they didn't understand the love language.
Yeah.
Because and this is one of the things that I really feel sorry for everybody because what I want you to do is look at it on the man side because that man is saying, but Eric, I did everything, man. I
Yep.
loved her. I did everything. But what he did not understand is, like you said, he was fixing her car. Man, her car stayed clean. He did all those acts of services when she needed quality time.
Right. Right.
And in his mind, he said, "How did I not love you? Did I not wake up at 6 o'clock in the morning and
Mm-hmm.
make sure that you had gas in your car? Did I not, did I not keep the tires rotated? Did I not, I mean, he can go all down the list of things, and in her mind, that did not register at all. And I think it's so sad. I totally understand it and I totally agree with it. But
Mhm.
it's also sad because there's so many men that are divorced because they did not understand
Yeah,
those love languages.
yeah, I agree. I agree. It's definitely something like you said that's life changing. But I often think about, like you said, how many people don't know about this? Because one of the things I wrote down about healing, one of the truths is that healing requires you to unlearn some things, right? You have
Mm,
to unlearn a lot of things. And one of the biggest issues I see is that people, the man will say, I provided for her. Well, you have to unlearn what providing means. Because when they say that, probably 80% of times, they're saying I financially provided.
absolutely.
Well, what I have found is when it comes to relationships and even parenting, financially providing is like the bottom five things.
Wow.
It's not as important as people. I mean, of course, you need money, and I get all that, but it's
Right.
not as important as you think. So we have to unlearn that as the man or as the provider, I provide financially, and that's it.
And I'm gonna tell
That's
you,
bare minimum.
I'm trying. My goal is to dispel this protector and provider deal.
Yeah.
I want to dispel it. I'm gonna tell y'all why. Okay, don't get mad at me, because what I really believe a man does is whatever he has to do.
Mm.
Whatever he had to do. I think limiting men, because one, I asked one, I said, well, what is it? What is a good man? And then what do you want? How do you describe a good man? And everybody always say protector and provider. And the woman that can't tell you, that's a whole nother conversation, because I do get a lot of them that says, you know, um, I want a good man, and then I say, well, what's a good man? And they can't tell me what a good man is. But they
Oh,
did, you got the protector and provider thing down pat. But really my thing is, um, okay, are you telling me that's all you want him to do?
yeah.
because when he protects and provide for you, I see it so much other stuff, because you're not telling me you want the quality time. You
Mm.
see, because I'm too busy protecting and providing, and
Well,
and
you
what
have to also ask them what is he protecting and what is he providing, because I may also need him to protect my emotions. I need him to protect
absolutely.
my heart. I need him to provide emotional safety for me. Because when I'm healing, that requires me to have a lot of vulnerable conversations, right? But if
Hmm.
you're volatile and if you are not interested, like I need emotional safety in order for me to be as vulnerable as I need to be to heal.
Absolutely. And say,
Yeah.
and that's one of those. That's why I can't allow that, that narrative, because it's almost cavemanish. I don't know.
Right. Yeah.
To it. I protect, I provide.
Yeah.
Because really and truly, I'm gonna be honest with you. I love you and I respect you, but when you look at a man, I guarantee you he ain't talking about no emotional feelings.
Yeah.
I mean, because
Yeah.
he'll jump in and he'll fight off a lion and a bear.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Before he'll sit down and say, let's talk about my feelings. You
Mm,
see,
that's
you
true.
know,
That's
and
true.
see, because we have been programmed, on what protecting and providing look like.
Yeah.
Listen, protecting for a man means that, I'm going to protect you. I have
Mhm.
swore that it's my sworn duty that I
Yeah.
would die for you.
It's like
And
Popeye. You know Popeye and his little lady. What's her name? Olive
olive
Oil.
oil.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
It was like that. And then she was with that other guy who was really big. Is that whole imagery thing?
Brutus.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, when it came, hey, he put that spinach in, and he w- and and he went to work. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? He did what he had to do. And that's how every. I mean, that's like a badge of honor for men. But what I believe is that the reason why we are losing it when it comes to relationships is because we and listen, women, y'all didn't do a good job at this. we already had a notion of what protect and provide meant, because that's the same thing our dad or granddad told us if we was lucky to have that. You know what I'm saying? Because nobody really talked outside of it. Okay, so provide, man. You gotta provide. You gotta provide. You gotta protect your family. That's it. Nobody really even went deep. It wasn't no. It wasn't no. No ABC clause to it. It was just protect and provide. And but now we get to the point where, okay, well, my love cup is empty. You're not speaking to my love languages. And so the guy's saying, but I'm doing what I was told to do.
Yeah.
It's
So
sad.
there's another truth to healing that fits right here, and it's that healing can. So while you're healing, two things can be true.
Mm-hmm.
While you're healing, two things can be true. So your parents, your father, whoever showed you what a man was, that can be true, and the other truths can be, let's see, how can I say this? But they didn't show you the full picture, or your partner can be doing their absolute best, but their best doesn't serve you. So two things can be true.
Wow. Wow. That's good. That's good. And so, and I see the time, and I want to make sure that we get through your list. Let's see. Let me go through the here. Vicky says, thanks for your support by buying stars. Yes, yes. Definitely do that. And that's my coach, y'all. Tiffany says, number 4, while you're healing, two things can be true. And what are
Yeah.
those two things again?
It can be any two things. So it can
And
be
okay.
that my partner did their very best. That can be true, but
Mm-hmm.
their best didn't serve me. Just like if you're
Mm,
talking about what you learned from your father. My father was a good man, a good
mm-hmm.
father, but he didn't show me how to be a good husband. Like two things in your life can be true.
Because being a good man does not translate into being a good husband.
No.
And really and truly, for any man that's listening to this, y'all share this out. Um, Man, the rules are different. The rules as a man, see, it's the difference. And I'm gonna say, man, I know our time is going. Okay, but I'm gonna share this story. When I my first saxophone lesson was actually my biggest revelation on relationships I ever had. Okay. Um, I get in there, I introduce myself, he introduced himself, and he sits me down. I pull my sax out, he looks at it, he asked me one question. He said, "Are you playing in a band or are you playing solo?" For whatever reason, it kind of shook me, and I'm like, I don't get why you asked me that question. What's the point? Is what I said. What do you mean? And so he went to explain it. He said, "Well, if you're playing in a band, I'm gonna have to teach you how. I'm gonna teach you how to tune your instrument. I'm gonna have to teach you how to tune so you can harmonize with the other band instruments." But he said, if you're playing solo, then we can skip that part. When you are a man, you're only talking. You're solo.
Yeah.
You understand what I'm saying? You're solo.
Yeah.
But when you are a husband, that means, man, you're part of a band. And
Yeah.
what we did not understand is that now you're gonna have to learn how to adjust yourself so you can have harmony in your marriage, and with
That's
harmony with
good.
your kids, harmony with your wife, and we were taught, man, how to go out. Man, I could play that saxophone. Man, I was good, but you know what? They wouldn't let me play at the church. Why? Because I didn't know how to, I didn't know how to tune my instrument. I couldn't play with nobody else. And that's what's happening, because on one side you can say, well, very successful, man. I love to hear him play. I love it, man. He played, man, Eric played so good. Yeah, but you take me out of that solo environment and put me in with other instruments, like a wife, like
Yeah.
kids.
Yeah.
Man, that thing that I was taught ain't good no more. And that's why this is the message that we have to tell people, is that and I'll say this too, and I'm gonna let you close because we got 5 minutes left. Um, what we have to do is we have to change the narrative. We have to change the
Yes.
story
Yes.
because we are losing this battle. It's not over with. The war is not over. We're losing. As a man, we are supposed we should not be at war with our spouse. And but the only way that we can get towards healing, then we have to understand that there is a deficiency in what we were taught.
Yes.
And then on the women's side, you have to understand that um, there is some things that he just don't know,
Yes.
and that's the whole part of coming sitting together. And I promise you, in my book, we talk about how you need to have these check-in meetings at least once a week. At least
Mhm.
once a week, you don't have to check in with your spouse and make sure that the goals that y'all set, man, you're still on the right path. So listen, I took your 5 minutes. Now you got 4 minutes. So
Okay.
close us out.
Okay. So let me tell you the other truths I have about healing. You may, while you're healing, you may realize that you're not the victim.
Mm,
You may realize that you're not the victim. We talked about healing is not linear; it's a journey. And then lastly, oh well, no, two other things. One, healing is worth it. That's a truth that you need to know because it's not going to always feel worth it. Healing is worth it. And then lastly, after healing, you must nourish it. So you can't just say this
wow.
relationship is healed, but you're never nourishing it. It's just like if you get a wound on your leg, once that leg is healed, if it once it heals up, you then go back to putting lotion on it like the rest of your legs. It has to be nourished.
Wow.
We're healing, but then we're not like sitting in that healing, or we're not then feeding the positivity. We've healed this relationship, but what are you going to do to ensure that it doesn't get back to this point again? Are you going to have ups and downs? Absolutely. But how do you not get back to this point? Is because you have to nourish it. If the issue of the relationship was you weren't spending time together, and then you go through the healing process, and then
Hmm.
afterwards you never spend time together again, you haven't nourished the relationship.
Wow.
And so
Man.
nourishment is required.
Man, that is so good. That is so good. Listen, what Vicky said, mic drop. I must nourish my healing. And I'm gonna tell you that right there. I'm gonna build a sermon around that right there. I'm nourishing my healing. Vicky, don't beat me to it now. I mean, because that is so profound. I never heard it like that. But when you said it, I started thinking about how you have to build up on your faith. Your faith have to be worked out. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Expect your most holy faith. Your faith. There's it's a process. And um, just like you have to work out your body to stay in shape, you have to work out, that healing process to stay healed.
Yeah.
And I would say that it's something that you'll have to do daily, at least, and not multiple times a day, right?
Multiple. It's a daily decision. Just like in the faith-based world, what do we say? You have to how do they say it? My dad is the pastor, not me. But what is that person who said I gotta die every day, or I gotta make a decision every day, or my flesh
Uh-huh.
has to die every day?
No, I mean all of that is good. It may not all be in the same scripture, but all of it's scripture.
Yeah. It's a
I,
daily decision though.
Is it, yeah, I
Yeah.
die daily,
That.
that I die daily. That sounds like
Yep.
something Paul said. He
That's
said,
it.
when Paul started talking about he have to crucify. Oh, that's my alarm. Crucify your flesh. That's exactly what I was going to say,
Yeah.
Vicky. You got to
Yeah.
do it daily, and so it is. It's a daily process. So listen, guys, our time is up. I don't I don't know how to even close this thing out. Because it's been so good. It's been I know it's been a blessing to others because it was a blessing to me. And I promise you, if this past 2 weeks, if it was only for me, I want you to know that your labor was not in vain. I need you to understand that, sister. You have done a remarkable job. Okay. And you healed some people. Okay. Yeah, no, what I Vicky said we need another I was working up to that, sis. That was part of my closer. Hey. but but I do what I want you guys to do in the chat. I want y'all to give her some appreciation. Let them know how they can find you. Whatever the best way, social media or
So you
however
can
you want
find
to do
me
it.
on any social media platforms under Mirror Moments Mental Health.
Mirror moment. Somebody write that in the chat. So Tiffany wants a new another episode. Vicky want another episode. Anybody else want to? Oh, Vic said, "Do you take insurance?" Listen, man. Okay, okay,
Yes.
okay. She do. She take all the major ones. Man, this is what it's all like because I'm gonna tell you, what I love about what you're doing, and I know Tamika said, of course, that's what I need. So it's a done deal. It's not me, KD. They want you, okay? They want you.
Listen, I have an accountability group on Sunday, so they won't let me miss every Sunday, but I can definitely come back. I'd love to come back. I think we could work something out.
Oh, definitely. So, I what I got because I got the next couple of weeks booked up. But what I want you to do whenever you find a place, even if I have to boot somebody, okay, I'll boot them. And if I got a week, that where I listen, we'll talk. But
Absolutely.
I'm in total agreement with the audience that we definitely need. Listen, I was just gonna say that we need we need
Miss
KD.
Letitia is in my accountability group, and so she's trying to
So
see what y'all doing over here.
gotcha. Okay, so basically you in trouble. Okay, guys. Well, once again, I want to thank you guys. And listen, just because she won't be back next week, don't mean that y'all don't come back next week.
That's
Okay.
right. That's right.
but definitely, I will see you guys next week on the Power Broadcast.
I've got an idea.